Hi everyone, welcome to our latest video in the Head in the Cloud series hosted by Citrus Global. Here with me today is Karen. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Karen.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's Karen here speaking. My name is Karen Tamrazyan. I live in Germany for a pretty long time already. I run a small software company called Freeware Lovers GmbH. It's just a software company. Most of our projects are open source. We are very open and transparent, and we involve a lot of contributions from the open source community. What we develop, basically, we try to develop different kind of social platforms where people would just collaborate in doing something. Like one of the projects is called exactly as the company itself, Freeware Lovers. Another one is a Community Lovers. Just mimicking the name of the company. But yeah, something like this. This is my passion.
Okay, fantastic. So, lockdown, COVID-19, that's very much at the forefront of everyone's mind, really, as to what's happened with this year. It's been a pivotal part of 2020. How were you during lockdown, Karen?
Well, yeah. By the way, once the lockdown has started, I still by then I still worked at a rather big corporation in an IT job. It was kind of my full-time job, and I did my entrepreneurship with my own company as a kind of side job, mostly on the weekends. And well, it went pretty well with me personally. We just stayed most of the time at home with our kids. What I did, I kind of foresaw what's going on, what will come to Europe, to Germany as well. And I made some kind of actions to prevent it, like at least within my family. And I advised my family, like extended family, to stay safe and stay mostly indoors. Just buy enough of toilet papers. I'm just kidding. You could, like, if you are kind of an analytical kind of person, you would see trends and what's going on in different countries, and these countries are not so far away, like for example Italy. So I could kind of predict what will happen, and we made it pretty well. Speaking of kind of business matters, the company also at some point, the company where I worked in this corporation, they also advised at some point, I think it was a little bit too late, also with many governments, to stay. It was like kind of an option to stay and work from home. Generally, I think our world was not very well prepared. And most of the jobs and people at these jobs, like IT jobs, for example, like most of them, I believe, could be done from work even before the COVID. We were not prepared to meet this kind of situation, but it forced us. There are a lot of downsides of this COVID situation, but there are some upsides as well. And one of them, it happened to be the best digital transformation wave what happened to this world probably in recent years. A lot of big guys were talking about it all the time, mostly not having a glimpse of an idea what it is actually, the digital transformation. But actually this disease made it possible so that we kind of reconsidered that we actually have everything necessary to work remotely, not to pollute this planet even more by commuting here and there, without any purpose, just to be there, to be kind of controlled by your boss or whatever. And if you need to be controlled anyways, that I believe something is fundamentally wrong with your business. Then if you need to control your employees, I believe that your employees have to work because they are very passionate about their work, and you don't have to actually ask them or like force them to work.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was frustrating for everyone at some point, some way, shape or form. What have been your biggest frustrations throughout the pandemic and lockdown?
Yeah. Another small gig what I did at the beginning of this pandemic was also that I teached at the university, at a private university here in Nuremberg, in Germany, and the infrastructure was not prepared completely for this kind of situation. So basically, I suggested to the university to run it in an online mode, and they kind of tried to force all the teachers to come back from the vacation to be present there within, like, dozens and dozens of students just among them, and it was just a rolling out, like, this, at the very beginning. So these businesses, also education, was completely not prepared for this kind of situations. They didn't have any tools, any means, and their mindset was pretty much like, wash your hands and that's it, we will be safe. That's very pity, because as I said before, everything is there, and everything used to be like years and years before already there.
Yeah.
And now, just because of this situation, we had started to think about it, like how we can bring more digital kind of tools into our lives, into our jobs, what could be done like way before it. So yeah, this is like, I personally was prepared pretty well, as I told you before, like on a personal level. I saw the trend where it's going, so I met all the cautions, and stayed at home. And I use like digital tools and internet and everything possible, like started to use them like years and years before. And I'm a kind of curious guy, if there is something new out there, I would like make sure to test it out. If it's something usable, I will make sure to make a good use of it. So no need to be like forced to use any specific tools. All the tools were, as I said, like already there, like years and years ago.
Okay, great. And what would you say the main lessons that you've learned on a personal level and also from a business perspective?
The lessons, well, yeah, on a personal level, you have to really be more kind of disciplined when you when you have a food and you stay indoors like most of the time. I gain some weight. This is like a downside of this whole thing. I should do more activities anyways, like on a personal level. It also pretty much uh, applies to many other people out there. If you are forced to be like most of the time indoors, like working from home,
Yeah.
it kind of demands more disciplined kind of workflow from yourself, so that you take care of your health, you take care of your family. You just go outside from time to time. It shouldn't be in some crowded places. There are like nature, just take time, go to the forest and have a walk or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, this kind of things. On a business level, I would say, well, we only like our business only gained from this whole situation. And I saw that many businesses are struggling, and some of them are. There is a good reason for this. Like for some businesses, like restaurants, for example, food chains, whatever. The reason is clear why they're struggling, because there are no people who actually. The demand has fallen very, very rapidly. You cannot do much like to help them here. Just maybe whatever, and maybe shift the business model a little bit. But many businesses are not actually restrained or like have to suffer actually, because many businesses are digital businesses anyway, but they still, ask people to come to work, and they still kind of sign contracts on paper where you need like presence of both parties, but it's kind of like old school. There are better ways to do it right now, like digital signature. We just discovered, like many people discovered digital signatures just a couple of months ago with this whole pandemic, what they could do like long time ago already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we're familiar with that. DocuSign's a popular one of that, which we've been using for digital signatures. Yeah, for contracts. Okay, great. So, if you could go back in time, is there anything that you'd have done differently to prepare for it? If so, what would that be, or what would those things be?
Well, once this whole pandemic has started, after it was a shock at the beginning, like for the whole world. And
Great, yeah.
at some point, like after a couple of weeks, I started to seek what can be done here, like what would be the new opportunities, because in every challenge there are almost certainly always there are new opportunities. And what I would do differently, I would just start thinking about this new chances and new things like a little bit before it, like, or once this pandemic has started, not just waiting this couple of weeks which I mentioned. This is what I would have changed. So basically becoming active earlier rather than later.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Yeah. As a result of what's happened, I mean, what do you think is here to stay, and whether that's for better or for worse?
With this pandemics, we like the world discovered many new tools, many new ways to do business and to communicate to each other, and what were unfortunately very new to many people, but the tools were there before. So this will not disappear. People will be aware that there are means to do things differently, to do things remotely, to do things fastly, and it will stick. We will once, like, I mean, if tomorrow there will be no corona whatsoever, I'm pretty sure many people will keep this kind of new tools which they learned, which they got accommodated with, you know, which they got familiar with. And of course, many things will return to the old way of doing it. But yeah, some will stick, and this is actually great. It will just make the whole world a little bit more efficient, I think.
Yeah. So you think working remotely, working from home is here to stay? That's one of the biggest aspects.
I strongly believe it is the way to go.
Yeah.
I like there are many jobs which cannot be done remotely, like as of now at least. I mean, if someone needs a surgery, the surgeon have to be there, right?
Yeah, of course.
At some point, maybe we will get rid of it. You know, maybe there will be like very precise machines which will be doing it. I don't know, but yeah, but there are many like most of the jobs I believe can be done remotely and can be done theoretically even more efficiently if they are done remotely, because employees would save time which they would normally use to commute, you know, to the job and back and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is basically what we see right now. What Corona has forced upon us. This is like actually the right way in many ways, like to live and to do business. What will, like, most of the things will still stick with us and will stay with us, and in the future we will even more get deeper into it and get more acquainted with these digital tools.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you mentioned at Free Lovers, you guys used to have like physical meetups every now and then. Now is that all done virtually? Is that how it's conducted as a result of what's happened?
Yeah, there is another thing what I have to mention. Like, it's not directly correlated or not directly connected to freeware hours. It's that I run also a community which is pretty huge. We just today we crossed 6,000 members in our community, and we started just about 1 year ago as a physical meetup. So basically, we would meet each other in Nuremberg, near Nuremberg, or actually in the downtown, and we did have like a few dozens of people who would meet like on a monthly basis. But now with this Corona lockdown, we went digital, and this is what I wanted to try out anyways. Even way before, I didn't hear anything about the Corona itself, but I thought like having in-person meetups is pretty much constraining, that you don't have, like, you cannot cover like as many people as you want. And and we were starting to experiment with the online format in about January of this year in 2020. And once the Corona came, it was like no-brainer to go fully digital, like fully online, and it just exploded. It just went from a few hundreds to 6,000 members, and a lot of interactions, a lot of new cool stuff going on, a lot of passion within people, passion to learn new stuff, exchange information, help each other, you know.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
like this. Yeah.
That's a big, so I suppose it's benefited for you guys, the pandemic, and it's made you grow vastly, you know.
Yeah. And
Ah,
these things you asked before, what will change or like what will stick. We are not going back to 300 people in person meetups here. This is what is going to stick with us.
yeah,
And we are expanding even more so.
brilliant. What advice would you give to businesses moving forwards?
To businesses, well, my only advice would be to be smart. And unfortunately, many businesses are not smart in our current world. And what I mean with this, like many businesses would do their stuff because either competition does something and they have to kind of do a me too business or copy them or be better than your competition. And many things are being done nowadays because they used to be like this. There is not much of fresh thinking about like challenging the status quo.
Yeah,
And I would recommend businesses, doesn't matter, like it doesn't apply even to pandemics or anything like this. It's just about being smart and doing business in a smart way. To get
okay,
back to this very fundamental first principles. If you do something like at first you have to serve your customers, like people who are actually consuming your products or services, not serving your competition.
mm,
And the second thing is just to go to the core of the problem before trying to find a solution to this. And what I mean, like many businesses, what I see nowadays, they are focused on the stuff which kind of grew up over years or over generations, and
yeah,
they have a situation which they have to kind of improve, solve, whatever. Many things. We have tools popping up like every single year, new tools, new digital technologies.
of course,
Use them to solve your problems or your customer problems in a completely new way, and be bold a little bit about it. Many businesses, they have very nice kind of resources like money laid back and everything,
hmm,
but they would hesitate to take risks because they're very worried about like what will happen, what my boss will think about me, like what will be my performance or whatever.
yeah,
Unfortunately, we have kind of this vicious cycle in many corporations nowadays. Small businesses like startups, they're way smarter about it. Not all startups, but many of them are, because they don't have much to lose, and they're young people as well mostly, and they know the recent technologies. They don't know pretty like very well the stuff which were created like 30 years ago or so. Something like this.
yeah.
So my advice, like to sum up, my advice is just to be smart and look to the core of the problem and not what seems to be a problem in many cases.
Okay.
And you are pretty well. You will have a healthy business in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So what you're saying is like maybe bigger enterprises are a bit more cautious in your opinion, and smaller businesses they're a bit more daring and willing to try new things, a bit more open-minded, a bit more smarter.
That certainly applies to most of the big businesses, like big established old school
Mm,
corporations.
yeah.
This is unfortunately the case. With small companies, it's tricky. It's a little bit different. We have a lot of small companies which are trying to run the business in an old way. Like
Hmm.
like these big corporations, but just smaller. I don't think it's a very nice way to run business. We have also many new companies like with a completely new mindset, and most of them are startups. And even like within startups, there are startups which would just go for rounds and rounds of funding, and they will have a lot of resources then,
Yeah.
and they will hire like crazy. They haven't a tested business model, but they will hire like crazy. It will be kind of bubble. And if you're lucky, it will survive. If not, it will just burst. I think smart way to start business is always to run a lot of prototypes, to test the business model out if it works or not. Start small and grow kind of naturally and organically, rather than just go for crazy rounds of try to pitch your idea. Maybe it's great, but like it's a small portion of the success, the idea itself, like the way how you implement it and how you run it. It's mostly even more important than just the idea itself.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much for that. And what would you ask of a modern talent partner?
Talent partner. Yeah, I think this is an interesting business, recruiting, that human resources, what will face a lot of changes in the upcoming years.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
I think like many ways how it's being done nowadays is structurally wrong or can be improved in a major way.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, for many recruiting companies, I believe it will cause a reduction of the man force, like of people involved in this whole recruiting process. I think there are many things which can be automated, and it can be made more transparent by
Hmm.
technology, which will reduce kind of people who are day to day involved in this kind of matchmaking between corporations, like businesses,
Yeah.
and the talents. Um, in which way it will be changed, I don't know for sure. I have a few ideas there. We have one project also is doing something like this. But yeah, I think this is like the way how it used to be like years and years before.
Hmm.
But a little, much more can be improved and automated, and kind of to make this matchmaking possible between the businesses and between the talents.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Thank you. Well,
Mhm.
look, that's all the questions from me. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that, I suppose there's a passion to you, or something that you found about since the pandemic, or anything you'd like to share, an insight you'd like to give?
Well, not very much related to pandemic, but just because your last question was about um, the talents, and
Yeah.
the human resources and this kind of topic.
Yes.
I believe that many people nowadays, employees, are trapped in this kind of old way of working, for the businesses, for the employers,
Hmm.
where the main driver for them to work there is unfortunately money. And I don't believe it's the most important driver. Like, most of them are doing their jobs because they will just get this monetary compensation. Unfortunately, not because they are very passionate about their jobs. And I also think that it will be fundamentally different also in the future, where people will kind of, maybe we will kind of have a world in the future, I believe we will, where we will get kind of very basic compensation given by the government, by our communities, whatever. Maybe governments can be transformed there also as well. We don't need really very hierarchical governments,
Right.
more flat governments, I would prefer rather. And once you got covered your very basic needs as a human, I believe you can start thinking about what I'm actually passionate about, what I would like to do without much compensation, even
Hmm.
because I'm just so like so much this kind of topics or whatever it is.
Right.
And then we will have much more passionate professionals who are doing the stuff which they love and like. They can do it almost like uh, eternally, because they like, you don't have to ask them. They will do it because they are very passionate about it. And it will transform in a very major way our businesses, our world as well. We will have a lot of jobs automated. A lot of mechanical jobs will be automated, but a lot of intelligent and creative jobs, there will be in a very huge demand, which will be covered by this kind of passionate professionals. We have a
Okay.
lot of crazy and interesting stuff coming up upon us, and I believe strongly it's a very exciting time to live. And fortunately, it's a little bit too slow to my taste.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, and also for answering, all the questions there that I've asked, and you've been very insightful, and passed on some valuable information. So we do really appreciate you being a guest here on the Head in the Cloud series, and hopefully we can have you again in the future.
Yeah,
All
It
right.
was a very nice conversation. Thank you very much, Jack. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, what it will bring, and I'm pretty sure it will be exciting.
As am I as well. So thanks again for your time. You take care, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Bye bye.